Hi, my name is Misha. I'm here with a famous Russian entrepreneur and environmental activist, Ruslan Fazlyev. And so could you please tell us a little bit about your early life and how you found your passion for programming?
I mean, there wasn't much else to do, so that was an easy thing. I guess my troubles, my parents had trouble actually finding some basically place for me in summer, just to make sure that they can focus on their work. So what they did is just connected me to some place where they had computers, and I could just be spending all of my days playing computer games. And the thing is that in the Soviet Union at the time, you could barely find any sort of computers anywhere. It would have to be like some sort of institute that works on computer-aided design. They would have like maybe two or three computers in the entire organization. But because it was the 90s already, and by the way, sorry, like I didn't expect this to be on YouTube or something, so I'm just randomly walking the street, so there's going to be quite a bit of noise.
No, it's okay, no
Uh,
worries.
Yep. Yeah, the way it works is like any organization tried to make some money, so they were selling some of the time uh,
Mhm,
behind this kind of first generation IBM PC, so you could play computer
mhm.
game, which I did. Uh, and my father somehow thought that I love computers, so he bought me books about computers. And later on, when I lost access to my actual computers and computer games, all that I had was books.
Mhm.
So I just was sitting in that apartment of my parents, reading all of these books, and
Wow.
then just writing computer code for imaginary computers. So just kind of it was pen and pencil coding. When I actually later had an opportunity to try this code on actual computer, it all worked. So no debugging. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of how I got into this.
Wow. And what were the languages like back then? Were they similar to what's used right now, or was it completely different?
Well, pretty much the standard design was to start with basic, and then uh, I ended up collecting computer
Hmm.
languages. So I tried to like learn every computer language that was out there. So my
Hmm.
first languages were, I'm trying to remember, it was Pascal, it was Forth, it was C, C++, it
Hmm.
was PL1, PLM, uh, it was assembler for a few different types of CPUs. What else? It was quite a bit. It's
Yeah,
funny, like
that's
I've
quite a bit.
invested time
Wow.
into learning this, but now I don't even remember the names of some of these languages because you can only remember what you actually practice.
Hmm. Yeah, and I heard one of the first startups you ever worked on was actually in Ulyanovsk, and it was called SimCom. Uh, could you tell us a little bit about how that came around, the whole idea of it?
Yes, SimCom was essentially a telecommunication company.
Hmm.
So think your landline phone and internet provider. And at the time, it was a government monopoly on telecoms in the Soviet Union. Uh,
Hmm.
but then there was a change in legislation, and the government monopoly was abolished. So you could get a license and actually have a private a landline phone operator. And I was fortunate enough to be like just part of the group that just got used Ericsson switch for 1,000 phone numbers. And yeah, that was the start of the company. They were very, very thrifty, very resource constrained. So instead of investing money in software and software engineers,
Hmm.
they just got me to just write the code and also be the systems operator for all of that stuff. So I was hired as a CTO, and I was essentially started as a co-founder with I think it was about 25% of the company. And yeah, it was I was 19 at the time, so being a telecom founder was a big deal,
Mhm.
and it was also a big deal because at the time the way things work is like if you want a landline phone in Soviet Russia, particularly in
Mhm.
the town where I was based, sometimes you would have to wait for like 2 years.
Oh.
Or sometimes you would get an answer like, no, sorry, we don't have plans on connecting your particular apartment building. So whatever you do, you won't be connected. Actually, even 2 years was a short time, and some people would need to actually give away bribes to get that phone after a wait of 2 years. And it also potentially was shared with some other families, so you could be on the
Yeah,
phone
wow, that's
hearing
crazy.
somebody else
Mhm.
talking about their personal matters. Uh, and if you would actually get bored and like, hey, can you shut up already? I need to make a call too, right? So yeah, now we come in and instead of wait for 2 years, we would actually give you a phone number in 2 weeks, which was very, very quick at the
Yeah.
time. And instead of paying bribes, you would actually just get a commercial service from us. So yeah, I mean, also because there was no internet other than dial-up internet, it was all very early. Then essentially no landline phone meant no internet. So imagine being the guy in a neighborhood who enables you to have internet connection.
Wow.
So if like everybody loves you,
Yeah, it's a big deal.
it was a good time.
Mm. Well, that's awesome. So, and mo most of the other startups that I've read about you worked on were e-commerce based. And so why did you choose that field to work?
Well, it was just kind of random because I I was crazy in love at the time with my now wife, uh, and I was also crazy in love with coding. So I wanted to build code. The thing is, there wasn't a single company in the city where I was based in that was doing any commercial grade software engineering.
Mm-hmm.
So I had an option of either leaving my girlfriend and going to kind of a different city to practice what I love,
Mm-hmm.
or leaving what I love doing and just kind of staying in that town. So I just decided to find a way to be in that town and still do software engineering. And I found something that was very rare at the time. Now it's like it's something common. I found a remote
Mm-hmm.
job. It was actually not a true job. It was just somebody abusing affiliate systems of freelance websites. So they were posting links to freelance websites as job posts to generate affiliate revenue share. But for
Mm-hmm.
me, it worked because like thinking that is generally thinking that was a real job. I applied, I studied how these things work, I learned about freelance stuff, and we made some bids on some projects. And one of our first projects ended up to be an e-commerce project, actually. So a project to build an e-commerce website,
Mm-hmm.
and we won that bid.
Oh wow.
We won that bid, and the guy actually said, like, "But I'm not sure if you're able to do it. Have you done anything like that before?" Uh, and just to prove a point that we can do it, we actually built our first e-commerce engine overnight. I just gathered the crew. I thought that okay, reasonable email response timeline is 24 hours. So let's make sure that 24 hours from now we can actually show something and say that we've built things like that in the past, even though in the past what meant the past 24 hours. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and the rest was history. So we were chosen for the project. The guy was quite thrifty, so he paid us less
Mm-hmm.
than anybody else would agree to be building it for, which was still a lot of money for us, just because of how poor we were and how broken the economy of it was Russia at the time was. So then, but for him to get that discount, he essentially allowed us to keep the copyrights for that code, so we could reuse this code. And that's essentially how the first platform was born, because when we had the code, we could do more projects like that. And eventually I just realized that there is so much demand for e-commerce, but there were no ready platforms in PHP. So we decided that, okay, we're gonna package this thing that we wrote as software and start selling licenses for this. And it worked out.
Oh, all right. So, and then when did XCart come about?
Well, that was XCart. Again, kind of, as I say, a little inaccuracy saves a lot of explanation. So when I say that my first business was XCart, really, there was a different name. The first name was FCart. It was a different e-commerce platform. So there were some platforms in between, but because XCart ended up the one the platform that kind of made the most noise at the time, and the business was the most successful, I just kind of jointly referred to all of this, the early approach as XCart.
I see. And when did you make the decision to move to the United States?
It was 2014. It was an overlap of a few events. So one, there was early in 2014, there was invasion in Ukraine, in Crimea, and as I was quite shocked with these events, and it was very, very hard in the light of that to be continued to operate like being based in Russia. And also our investment round got damaged because we were supposed to raise our Series B, and we had a term sheet from one big name VC that I don't want to name, and I don't want to name them because they didn't close on their term sheet. That was total BS. We had a pretty serious verbal commitment from them to go ahead, and in fact, they encouraged us to basically increase our burn rate before waiting for them to close, so that we can accelerate already. And we did. So we increased our burn rate, and instead of being a profitable company, we started losing money quite fast, which is hard to dial back. And then they did close on the term sheet. So yeah, it put the company in dire straits. I was able to save the business. We later raised a round from a different investor. We raised a round from ITA Capital. But I decided that kind of I won't be in a situation like that anymore. And yeah, part of the decision was to move to the United States. There was also, just when you look at it, companies in Eastern Europe, they're not valued nearly at as high of multiples as a US-based company. You do the same thing you were doing, but you do it in the US, and you have very different outcome. And because our business was very global and most of our customers were from the United States, more than half of our business was coming from the US, it was a very logical step.
So when you were creating the whole like XCart and like or FCart startups, did you have the target customer of the like a foreign target customer in mind, or did that kind of just happen?
Oh, it was very, very, very broad. We didn't have any particular vertical as a narrow target. Just for you to understand the context, so we tried to democratize the e-commerce and to make e-commerce to really be available for any sort of business. So thing that would normally take probably like $100,000, $200,000 in coding, we made available at a $100 license. So we created a really mass market software XCart at the time was one of the world's most popular e-commerce solution, period. So the target profile was everybody, essentially. With the exception, perhaps, is that because in the early days, the company was based in Russia, not too many large enterprises would basically take a risk of working with a provider based there. So then it was mostly small and medium businesses that needed to make sure that every penny they spend it right, and get kind of the best platform, and also within the budgets that they can afford. So yeah, that was the kind of customers we had.
And what about the team you mentioned? How'd you find your team? Was it from maybe college or something else?
Well, I'll answer a different question. Like, how do you figure out if somebody has a leadership skill? Who is fit to be a leader? If you want to promote somebody in your team, well, I think one sign of somebody being a leader is that they always have a team already. It may not be necessarily a professional team, as in it may not be a team of software engineers, but maybe they organize the football team somewhere, or maybe they are kind of the trouble starters that get a bunch of friends to join at a local bar, wherever it is. They have some people who follow them, right? And I had a team of my own. I had a team of friends that have been coding since we were like 11 or 12. And it was with this team that we started initially. And then we just kind of expanded from there organically.
Well, all right. Yeah, that's actually a really interesting thought. What about Ecwid? What was your initial idea, and how did that come around?
Well, I had all of this experience with XCart that so many customers, XCart as, so I love this fast. There are quite a few ambulances coming. Yes, so yeah, I'm on the streets of Montreal today, and this is what it is. I think this is one of the busiest streets in downtown Montreal. So yeah. Anyway, when I was working on XCart, one of the most frequently asked, one of the things that customers complained about a lot is that they would approach us and say, "Hey, I want to add XCart to my existing website. I already have a site. I want to add XCart to that website. How much would that cost me?" And I would say, "Sure, we can do it for like whatever, like $10,000. Now, there's the effect of price anchoring. If the basic platform would cost 5,000, and I would say that adding to their website would cost 10,000, they would probably say, okay. But when you get a software license for $100, and all of a sudden, when you learn that it would take 10,000 to add it to your website, then you get a sticker shock, and you don't think the price is fair. But the reason for that gap in pricing is that it's a one thing to just distribute a software license, but to add that e-commerce to their website, it basically would mean that the template for their website needs to be implemented on the e-commerce platform. So you kind of rebuild their existing website, at least the design of it, on your e-commerce platform. And that's how every e-commerce platform in the world is built up to this day, today. And that request of just embedding the thing into what they already have, it was technically impossible at the time. But then I realized that it's not impossible. Like if you build your entire e-commerce platform as a piece of JavaScript, then you can probably embed it anywhere, and it will work with the existing design. So essentially, we created the world's first headless commerce solution, and that was Ecwid. And Ecwid was not supposed to be a company. It was supposed to be a product of XCart, but eventually I just basically took some venture money in my company at the time. And the reason I took this venture money was because with XCart, I had some of my former competitors that started later and were initially much smaller than me. I was the dominant player in the market, but then they've raised what I thought was a shitload of money from a bunch of companies, including PayPal. PayPal and eBay, it was kind of the same company at the time. And they proceeded to basically crush me in the market with much more resource and much more investment. And then after they sold to eBay, and they had eBay resources behind them. So I basically realized that, hey, I had so many offers to acquire my company, and I ignored them all because I didn't think that my company was sellable. It was not structured in a way that it was able to be sold. So I decided, okay, I will never miss a chance to sell a company again. I need some partners that will make the company sellable and that will always force me to sell next time, because I get to attach to the business, to the team, to everything. So that's why it took on some venture capital. And it was the venture capitalists that basically advised me to split XCart and Ecwid into two different companies, because one was a software business, and the other was one was profitable, slow growth software business, and the other was a high growth SaaS business. And these type of businesses, they just have different multiples. So these companies, they were worth more separately than they were kind of worth together.
I see. So Ecwid essentially grew off XCart's popularity, and that helped it launch forward so fast and become successful.
Yeah, it's a spin-off, and I took all of the best players on XCart team when I was starting Ecwid. So it was a very, very strong team day one, very experienced, and not just experienced in general, but experienced in that specific field, and also experienced in playing well together.
Yeah.
There was a study, was it by Stanford or Yale? I don't remember, but there was a study on any early signs of unicorn companies. So what are the predicting factors? And turns out that there aren't many. There were very, very few that were consistent. And wasn't in fact just one strong predictor for future unicorn, is that generally the founding team of unicorn companies, not only they did something before, but they did something before together.
So they have the team chemistry playing in their favor.
Yep. So that one factor strongly correlated with kind of achieving unicorn status. And of course, I mean, it's not a guarantee. Building a unicorn is such an outlier outcome. But anyway, that factor definitely played in our favor. We built a semi-unicorn. Ecwid was sold for $500 million.
Yeah, that's really impressive. And so how long did it take you to build up the company to that scale?
About 11 years.
All right. So, and did you what year did you sell this company, Ecwid?
It was 2021.
No, I see. So you lived through the pandemic with the whole e-commerce thing, right? And how did you find the pandemic affecting your business?
Well, I mean, at first it was quite spooky. Because we were going through a process of raising our next round, and there were some acquisition offers on the company, and then the markets crashed and nobody had any idea of what would come next. And some of our rounds were, the number of players at the table actually decreased rapidly at first. But there were two funds, Peakspan Capital and Morgan Stanley Capital, that actually invested in our company at the time and bought out my previous investors.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a very fortunate investment for them because essentially they invested at the peak level of uncertainty.
Mm.
And then a few months into it, many things became certain. One thing certain that was that SaaS businesses were booming, and online commerce was booming.
Everything is
And
online.
the valuations actually were like, after taking an initial dive, they bounced back with all of the money printing in the US, and they reached unprecedented levels. So yeah, it was a good investment for Peakspan Morgan Stanley.
I see. So along the way of creation of all these companies and like enormous personal growth and moving to America, and would you say there was like a single experience maybe, or like a piece of advice that you could give to other younger entrepreneurs or programists?
Well, just perhaps being genuine and following your unique path, because the world is so commoditized that I think the biggest problem that you might have is just not being noticed. So when you try to play safe, when you try to be somebody else, you just lose your differentiation, you lose your uniqueness, and I don't think you'll achieve a lot with this. So just believe in your approach, and it will either work or you'll find some other way, and then you will believe in that other way.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And what about kind of going back in the timeline? How was your education at Ulyanovsk State Tech University affect your career?
Well, I never graduated. I dropped out. They later offered me an honorary degree, but the process for it was a bit complicated, so I decided to not follow it. That's something that I say to my son. Is like it's not really important if you graduate or not. But getting in the right school is important because that's where you build your network. And for me, getting in that university was important. I met some very, very bright people there that really influenced me. It helped jumpstart my business too, kind of the network that I had. But I didn't actually learn anything in the university because I don't think there was anybody who could teach me anything in computer science, at least in that school. I mean, by that time, I held the title of actually the best team programmer in Russia. We won the Russia high school team programming contest. So I was well beyond any basic computer science classes.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like a lot of the most innovative stuff and the stuff that leads to progress is the stuff that they don't teach at schools because it's ahead of its time, basically. So
I also had more than 10 years of experience behind my belt at the time when I was in university.
Yeah, nobody knows how the world works until you like learn it yourself, I guess. So yeah, so now that you have sold Ecwid, do you have any plans maybe for what you will be doing next or any future projects?
Well, I'm currently the general manager of eCommerce at Lightspeed, so kind of doing what I was doing before, just part of a bigger group.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. Thank you so much for the interview. It was great hearing from you. It's a really inspiring story, and I hope you have a great day.
Thanks, and good luck.
Thank you.